My name is Clara Arlen, and before the day that changed everything, I thought I had life all figured out. As a 36-year-old attorney in New York City, I prided myself on my sharp mind, practical decisions, and unwavering focus on my career. Faith to me was a relic of my childhood, a quaint idea I had outgrown, replaced by the certainty of facts and law. That morning started as every other did, a brisk walk to the subway, earbuds in, coffee in hand, my mind already on the pile of briefs waiting at the office. Um, it was October, and the city's cool air hinted at the impending winter. Yet, as I crossed 42nd Street, my life veered onto a path I never could have imagined. A screech of tires, a flash of steel, then silence. The next thing I knew, I was floating above the chaotic scene, watching as a crowd gathered around the crumpled heap of my body. Time seemed to slow. Paramedics worked feverishly, their voices muffled as if coming through water. Yet, strangely, I felt no fear or pain, only a profound sense of peace. I turned my gaze upward and was met by a light unlike anything I had ever seen. It was alive, a radiant, pulsing warmth that pulled me toward it. Colors beyond earthly comprehension swirled within the light, and as I moved closer, I heard what can only be described as celestial music, an intricate symphony of um, voices and instruments, both familiar and otherworldly. Mrs. I felt my soul lift, shedding the weight of my earthly worries. Um, Yet, just as I was about to be completely enveloped uh, by the light, I heard a voice. Clara, it's not your time. The voice was powerful yet gentle, like a father guiding a frightened child. And then I saw him, highest Christ. His presence was overwhelming in its purity and love. His eyes, deep and knowing, seemed to see into the very fabric of my being. Come, he said, extending his hand. There is something you must see. I took his hand, and in an instant, the scene shifted. We stood on a mountaintop, overlooking what appeared to be the entirety of human existence. I saw cities and wilderness, laughter and tears, hope and despair, all interwoven in a tapestry of light and shadow. Anyways, so to open the letter a bit, though, I think I remember Jesus pointed to the horizon where a towering structure loomed. At first, it appeared beautiful, its golden spires reaching toward the heavens. But as I looked closer, the structure began to change, its foundations crumbling to reveal something darker. A seething mass of chains and shadows. This is the deception, he said, his voice heavy with sorrow. It promises freedom, but binds all who trust in it. I watch as people approach the structure, their faces filled with hope and curiosity. They reached for its promises, but as they touched its walls, the chains sprang to life, binding them. Their eyes clouded over, and they began to move in unison, like marionettes on invisible strings. Why do they go willingly? I asked, my voice trembling. They're drawn by what they think they lack, Jesus replied, but they do not see the cost. That is why you must tell them, Clara. Show them what you have seen. Help them understand that true freedom lies not in the promises of the world, but in the love and truth I offer. He showed me more the faces of people I knew, friends and colleagues, all approaching the structure. Some hesitated, their hands wavering as if they sensed the danger. Others stepped back, their faces illuminated with understanding, as if a hidden truth had been revealed to them. Clara, Jesus said, the choice is always theirs, but you can help guide them. Tears filled my eyes as I looked at him. How? How can I make them see what I have seen? Love them, he said simply. Show them the light and trust that I will do the rest. The mountaintop faded, and I found myself standing in a new place, a vast, radiant expanse that seemed to stretch infinitely in every direction. The ground beneath my feet wasn't solid, yet it supported me. It shimmered, as if woven from light itself. I looked around, and everywhere I turned, there was movement, threads of gold, silver, and every color imaginable intertwining in an intricate dance. What is this place? I asked, awestruck. This, Jesus said, appearing beside me, is the tapestry of life. Every soul, every action, every choice is represented here. Watch closely. As he spoke, the threads closest to us began to glow more brightly. I saw scenes from my life appear within them, like images projected onto a screen. There I was as a child, comforting my little brother after he had fallen off his bike. Another thread showed me volunteering at a shelter during college. I saw countless small moments, acts of kindness I had long forgotten, each one sending ripples of light across the tapestry. Ugh. Sophie, I hope my shelding. Ease are the moments when you chose love, Jesus said. They may have seemed small to you, but they are precious. Every act of love creates a ripple that touches countless lives. I was overwhelmed by the beauty of it all. But then another set of threads caught my attention. These were darker, their colors muted and heavy. As I looked closer, I saw other moments, times I had acted out of selfishness, fear, or anger. I winced, feeling the weight of regret. Do not be afraid, Jesus said, placing a reassuring hand on my shoulder. These moments are not meant to condemn you, but to teach you. Watch and learn. I saw a moment when I had ignored a homeless man on the street, too preoccupied with my own worries to offer help. The ripple from that choice spread outward, casting shadows over other threads. I watched as those shadows dimmed the light in the lives of people I would never meet, their own struggles, compounded by my inaction. Tears streamed down my face. I didn't know, I whispered. I didn't realize the impact of my choices. You do, Jesus said gently. But that is why you are here, to understand. Every choice matters, Clara. Every action, no matter how small, contributes to the greater whole. This is the responsibility and the privilege of being human. I rate it with heartaches. The tapestry shifted again, this time showing threads that weren't mine. I saw the lives of strangers, their threads weaving together in ways that created beauty and harmony. I saw how one act of kindness, a woman paying for a struggling mother's groceries and love that spanned continents. Each thread is connected, Jesus explained. No one exists in isolation. The love you give, the light you share, it all returns to you and to the world 100-fold. I looked closer at the tapestry and a thought struck me. What about the dark threads? Can they ever be undone? They can be transformed, he said, his eyes filled with compassion. When love is chosen, it has the power to heal even the deepest wounds. Watch. A dark thread began to glow faintly, its color shifting as it intertwined with a golden thread. I saw a man, once consumed by anger, choose forgiveness instead of vengeance. The ripple from his choice not only brightened his own thread, but sent waves of light cascading through the tapestry, which hung together as it pierced the temple through the world in glass hedge. A ripple from his choice not only brightened the taper, but sent waves of light through the tapestry, touching the world, going through the world in glass hedge. This, Jesus said, is redemption. It is the heart of my message. No one is beyond the reach of love. No darkness is too great to be overcome by light. I stood in silence, letting his words sink in. The weight of my own choices, both good and bad, felt immense. Yet there was also hope, hope that I could do better, that my thread could shine brighter. Jesus turned to me, his gaze steady and full of purpose. Clara, you must carry this knowledge with you. Help others see the light within themselves, the power they hold to transform the world through love. It will not always be easy, but you will never be alone. As he spoke, the tapestry began to fade, and I felt myself being drawn to another place. My heart ached to stay, to continue exploring the infinite beauty of this realm, but I knew there was more I needed to see. Where are we going now? I asked. To the Hall of Choices, he said. There, you will understand the forces that shape the world and how to overcome them. The next place was unlike anything I had seen before. It was vast and echoing, filled with a sense of ancient significance. The walls shimmered with a golden light that seemed to pulse with life, as though the space itself was breathing. Above me, constellations of stars danced in patterns too complex to comprehend, while the ground beneath my feet glowed softly, a living map of humanity's collective journey. Jesus walked beside me, his presence a beacon of peace amidst the grandeur. This is the Hall of Choices, he said. Every decision made by humanity, past, present, and future, resonates here. As I looked around, I saw doors lining the hall, each one unique. Some were ornate, their frames adorned with jewels and intricate carvings, while others were simple and unassuming. Each door seemed to call out, humming with energy. Um, but what's behind them? I asked, drawn to the closest one. These are the choices made by individuals, communities, and nations, he replied. Each door represents a path taken or a decision still waiting to be made. I hesitated, feeling the weight of the moment. Jesus nodded. You may. I reached for a nearby door, its surface carved with images of trees and rivers, symbols of life and renewal. As it swung open, I was transported into a vision. I saw a young woman standing in a field, her hands dirty from planting seeds. Around her, others gathered, their faces alight with hope as they worked together to restore the land. This is a choice of renewal, Jesus explained. When people come together to heal what is broken, they create ripples of life that extend far beyond what they can see. The scene shifted, showing the impact of the woman's work. The fields flourished, feeding families and strengthening communities. Children grew strong and hopeful, their futures brighter because of what had begun as a single act of faith and effort. I closed the door, my heart swelling with awe. It's beautiful, I said. It is, Jesus agreed, but not all choices lead to such outcomes. He gestured toward another door, its surface dark and cracked. Reluctantly, I opened it. This time, I saw a different scene. An argument between leaders, their words filled with anger and division. The consequences spread like wildfire. Communities torn apart, families estranged, lives lost to violence and despair. Why would anyone choose this? I asked, my voice trembling. Fear, Jesus said simply. Fear of loss, fear of change, fear of the other. Fear is a powerful force, but it can be overcome by love. I closed the door, feeling the weight of the darkness I had seen. How? I asked. How can love overcome so much pain and fear? Jesus turned to me, his gaze unwavering. By choosing it, even when it's hard. Every time someone chooses forgiveness instead of vengeance, compassion instead of indifference, light grows stronger. Remember what I showed you in the tapestry, how even the smallest act of love can transform the world. Um, the next stanza. He led me to another part of the hall where the doors grew larger and more imposing. These, he explained, represented collective decisions. Choices that shaped the destiny of nations and the future of humanity. Look here, he said, gesturing toward a door adorned with symbols of technology and progress. When I opened it, I saw a future where humanity had harnessed its ingenuity to create a world of abundance and harmony. Clean energy powered vibrant cities. Ecosystems flourished, and people lived in unity, their differences celebrated rather than feared. Tears welled in my eyes at the beauty of it. Is this possible? I asked. It is one of many possibilities, Jesus said, but it requires courage, wisdom, and love. It requires people to choose connection over division, stewardship over exploitation. And he motioned to another door nearby. When I opened it, I saw a darker future, a world scarred by greed and neglect. The air was choked with smog, the land barren, and the people divided by walls, both physical and emotional. These are the consequences of choices made without love, he said. But remember, the future is not fixed. It is shaped by the choices made each day. I turned to him, my heart heavy. What can I do? How can I make a difference in something so vast? Start with what is in front of you, he said. Love those you encounter. Be a voice for truth and compassion. Every choice matters, Clara, no matter how small it seems. As he spoke, the hall began to fade, and I felt myself being drawn away once more. Where are we going now? I asked, bracing myself for what might come next. To the threshold, he said. It is time for you to decide what comes next. The light around us began to shift, dimming slightly as a sense of anticipation filled the air. I found myself standing on the edge of a vast expanse, a shimmering veil that seemed to ripple like water, yet sparkled with the radiance of stars. Beyond it, I could feel something indescribable, a presence so immense and loving that it filled me with equal parts longing and awe. This is the threshold, Jesus said, his voice calm but resolute. It is the place where every soul must decide whether to go forward or return. I looked at him, confused, but I thought my time here was temporary. Do I have a choice? You always have a choice, he replied, his eyes filled with compassion. But with choice comes responsibility. If you choose to stay, you will enter into the fullness of eternity, leaving behind the work yet to be done in the world. If you choose to return, you carry with you the light and truth you have seen, to share it with those who need it. I felt a deep pull toward the veil, as though it was calling me home. The peace and love radiating from beyond it were unlike anything I had ever known. Yet at the same time, images of my life on earth began to surface in my mind. Faces of loved ones, moments of joy and sorrow, and the countless people I had yet to meet, whose lives might be touched by what I had learned. What happens if I go forward? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. You will enter into the fullness of my presence, Jesus said. You will experience a joy and completeness beyond anything you can imagine. But remember, your journey on earth is not about earning this. It is about preparing for it. Many still need the hope and love you can bring. And if I return, you will face challenges, he said, his expression both tender and serious. I stood in silence, torn between the overwhelming peace of the veil and the weight of what returning would mean. Finally, I turned to Jesus, my heart full of questions. How will I know what to do? How will I share what I've seen? He smiled, a smile that seemed to hold the wisdom of all creation. Trust in me, and you will find the way. Speak truth, live with love, and let your actions shine as a testament to the light within you. Remember, it is not your perfection that matters, but your faithfulness. I looked back at the veil one last time, feeling its pull, its promise of rest and reunion. But then I thought of the faces I had seen in the Hall of Choices, the threads in the tapestry of life, and the dark paths that could still be transformed into light. I'll return, I said, my voice steady despite the tears streaming down my face. There's still work to do. Um, Jesus nodded, his eyes filled with pride and love. Go then, my child. Carry what you have seen and let it guide you. And remember, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. As he spoke, the veil began to fade, and I felt myself being drawn back, the weight of my physical body returning. I gasped for air, the sterile smell of a hospital room filling my lungs. The beeping of monitors and the concerned murmurs of nurses brought me fully back to reality. Um, but I was not the same. The days that followed were filled with questions from doctors, friends, and family about what had happened. I struggled to put my experience into words, knowing that no explanation could fully capture what I had seen and felt. But I also knew I couldn't remain silent. I began to share my story, hesitantly at first, but with growing confidence. Some people listened with wonder, others with skepticism, but I realized that my task wasn't to convince anyone. It was simply to tell the truth. Life didn't suddenly become easier after my return. There were still struggles, losses, and moments of doubt, but now I faced them with a deeper understanding of the love and light that underpin all of existence. I saw opportunities for kindness in every encounter, no matter how small. I recognized the threads of the tapestry in the lives around me and worked to weave light into the dark places I encountered. Um, Through it all, I held on to the promise that had been given to me, the promise that no matter how heavy the journey might feel, I was never alone. The same light that had drawn me to the threshold now guided me in every step of my earthly path. I don't know how much time I have left in this world, but I know that every moment is precious. Every choice matters. And one day, when my time truly comes, I will cross that veil, not with fear, but with joy, knowing I have lived a life shaped by love and guided by the truth I found in the presence of Christ. And I will hear his voice again, welcoming me home.